some reason, the only one I'm subscribed to is the uncensored. Yeah,
There's another spot
wild.
that is like,
Oh, that's like people who can't Facebook.
one of the worst parts about Facebook.
Or like on next door, like a couple summers ago, it was the geese.
Oh,
I
okay,
was
well,
really upset about the geese. And thinning
I'm
out the
upset
herd.
about the geese.
Very
Yeah.
emotionally.
Sure, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, June will be. Yeah, yeah, June will be my last. Yeah. Early in California, so. Okay, so we have a lot to do.
Need to buy this. Get in my. Hi.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks. That was nice. Yeah, my boyfriend and I have dated for 12 years. Right here, yeah. Wow. Aw. Well, you made the right choice.
Yeah, I was ready.
Go with your gut.
Yeah.
It's cute. Ooh, I'm not. Sorry, I'm
We
mic'd
took
up.
7 years.
Would it help if I turn on the microphone? Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Urbana Arts and Culture Commission meeting on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. in City Hall. The first item on our agenda today is a call to order and the roll call.
Alicia Rodriguez,
Present.
Sarah Buckman,
Present.
Barbara Headland,
Present.
Abby Harris,
Present.
Hannah Andreessen,
Present.
Xander Hazel.
Here.
The next item on our agenda is an approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have a motion to approve or any discussion to be brought up? We have an motion then?
I'll make, oh, you want to go?
Motion to approve February 11th minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you so much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to our agenda today?
No additions.
Great, thank you. Do we have any public input? I don't see any in the audience, but do we have anything in writing as well?
No public input.
Okay. Do people occasionally send in information to be discussed or reviewed?
I think almost 2 years ago, Councilman Chris Evans did come in person, and he did have some public input in person, but it's been probably since before I started, since anyone sent in public input to the Arts Commission.
Well, I think people know, our audience knows that they can do that, though, right?
Yes, and the agenda has that whole section on it that
Right.
tells people how. It is like, if you have something you want to say to the Arts Commission, you do need to sort of say that that is something you want to say.
And
As
that's on the
public
city
input.
website as well.
Mm-hmm, it
in
is.
case We're trying to inform our audience today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you. So now we are at the moment in the meeting where we have our presentations and a staff report by our fearless leader.
When 1 month goes by, it seems like it's been a while since we've met. All right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, if you can see the image in the back is the mural, the market mural. All right, so for the staff report today, I did just want to add before we get started, just some updates, commissioner updates. So I couldn't remember if last meeting we had talked about it, but since our last meeting, Lori Fuller and Mark Anthony Macon have stepped down. They just are moving on with other things in their life, moving, I think Lori's moving out of town. So they really loved their time on the commission with you all, and possibly might come back in some circumstances, but for now, those two seats are open. And Alicia, that's with us today, is going to be having her last day in June, so at our June meeting. So, yeah. And then next month for our May meeting, we'll have our newest member, Robert White, join us. He's not at this meeting because he's at a conference for work. So just wanted to let you all know that. So that leaves us with 3 openings. So if there are people in the community that you think would be great to represent the arts and culture program and be a commissioner, they can apply. That information's on our website, and you can also send me an email if there's someone who's interested. All right. So we have a new poet laureate, and I thought maybe I'd pass the mic to Sarah to give us some updates on that.
Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, we're really excited to announce this week that Angie Patton is our 5th Urbana Poet Laureate. So congrats to Angela Patton. We're going to be doing a Poet Laureate celebration, and everybody's welcome to attend. It's going to be from 7 to 9 on Wednesday, April 30th. Thanks to Jonah at Gallery Art Bar for hosting. Jonah does monthly open mic nights, so we're kind of collaborating and merging the celebration in with that poetry open mic night. So folks will be able to hear from Angie, and then we're also inviting the poet laureates. I know for sure that Janelle Davenport Pleasure will be reading a poem she wrote for Urbana when she was poet laureate. So yeah, it'll be kind of like a meet and greet, and then give the opportunity for other poets to perform their poetry that evening. So I hope you guys can make it. And then, yeah, we're really excited about Angie's plans for this year. She really wants to do workshops with poets of all ages. She's really interested in getting poetry out to different parts of the community, and even having social media plans and maybe even billboards with poetry. So we're excited about her plans, and She's been a published author for a long time, so I think that she has a lot that we're really excited about with her sharing this year. And, you know, we welcome any collaborations throughout this year, so feel free to reach out to Angie. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. I wanted to give a quick update about the 2025 arts grants. The applications are now closed, and we received 65 applications that were submitted for Tier 1 and Tier 2. So separate or different from last year where that was 1, 2, and 3, around the same applicants. But yeah, so pretty exciting. And the arts grants jury will be forming very shortly, and more information on that. I think that there'll be 2 different juries for each tier. That way, commissioners, there can be 2 commissioners for each tier to be jurors. So I think that, Sarah, you said that you were interested in being a juror. Abby said that she was interested. I know Robert, who hasn't started yet, he's interested, but knows that it's kind of time consuming. As anyone who's done the jurying before, it can be a little time consuming. But Hannah, Xander, did you do it last year? Yeah. Okay. So if you want to try doing it again, or Hannah, if you want to give it a shot since you didn't do it last year, just let me know. Okay. Yeah. It really is fun to just see all the different ideas. It's very inspiring to see what people are thinking, because these are all of the brainchilds, I guess, children of our community.
I'll volunteer to do it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
Then
Count me
I
in.
will put you down.
Percentage of people that applied from before? Earlier, you were speaking about the statistics about how many applied. Did you have repeat?
There's definitely repeat applicants, and I don't know if I've taken the time to chart out exactly how many are repeat applicants, but it's a good portion, and then also a good portion of just new people with really new ideas. It's really interesting to see some of the themes, like really music heavy versus really theater heavy and performance art related. So it's pretty cool to see all of those.
Vivian, are you planning on having community members participate in reviewing like last year?
Yes.
That you invited?
Yeah, the jury is usually consisting of commissioners and other like people in town who are artists or business owners or community leaders or organizational leaders. So yeah, it's a good mix.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if anybody knows any potential commissioners, this could be a good opportunity for them to engage with the commission without being on the commission itself.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's like 6-hour commitment total, probably.
I think just a nice night of having a cup of tea, or several nights of having a nice cup of tea and just kind of going through those applications. But yeah, I would say that's a really good way to see what kind of shapes the program too, is just going through some of those. So yeah, if you all know anyone who might be interested in being a part of that process, let me know.
Do the outside evaluators, can they be from either city?
Yes, I think that the focus is really just that people are invested in the Urbana arts community, which I think there's so many people who are from Champaign who are very devoted and care about Urbana and its programs. Okay, so just a little update on 2025 arts grants. My House, Your House is an exhibition that's coming up. The opening is this week, and it is this was done by Monica Andino, and it is essentially a series or a collection of illustrations that come from stories that have to do with raising children who are immigrants or come from immigrant families, and just sort of like that experience that was taken, I think, in a couple of workshops, verbally collecting stories, and then sort of taking those and turning them into really beautiful illustrations. And that's going to be at the Urbana Early Childhood School, April 9th at 5 p.m. So I'm not sure how long it's up, but that is the opening reception is that day. All right, and just for some upcoming events, because there's not too much for this meeting, but I did want to just share that this Friday, I believe, I guess at the same time as the other exhibition, is the Fairy Tale Ball at the Urbana Free Library. And come one, come all, because this is an event for everyone. But I believe that Krannert Center for the Performing Arts has some master's students who have done some of the installations for this event too. So it might be fun if you're just looking for something to do right after work on Friday, just to peruse the library, because they just transform all the levels of the library. It's really cute. Also coming up is the Boneyard Creek Community Day on April 20th from 9 to 1 p.m. And I believe on the city website there's a little bit more information, but they provide lunch, and there are different locations where people can pick up trash and clear out debris in the creek. So if you're feeling like you want to do a little outdoor volunteering, that will be a really good event to be part of.
I'm curious, do any of the fraternities on campus get involved in something like this?
I hope so.
The service?
I know that because Champaign and Urbana both do it, so the cities both kind of sponsor some cleanups, but I think that because there's such a big section that's on campus, I think that the university has some pretty big groups that help volunteer also.
Boys and Girl Scouts groups too?
I'm not sure.
Points for their badges?
I think that would be really amazing. And I think that from what I've heard, because I've never been, because there's always been other art events happening, but it gets really cold, so you have to bundle. And if you have waders, like if you go fishing or have wellies or something, definitely wear them, because people get in the water to get the trash and debris and whatnot. But yeah, I think they also do a lot of like silt removal as well, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. All right, and just wanted to make a little announcement that the Art at the Market program is going to be happening a little bit more often, and so we did a little bit of like rebranding. Last year it was the tie-dyed tote bags that kind of were tied with the farmers market, and also just working with a local artist to do that. And I think in the past it's been musical performances and dance performances, and I think that it's kind of ranged in success based on what's a little too loud for vendors to still be communicating with their patrons at the market. But our first one is going to be May 17th from 9 to noon. And we are going to be doing some painted ceramic pots, and also partnering with the seed library or the seed exchange at the Urbana Free Library. So people can come and paint some really cute pots, take some dirt home, and some seeds. So, and we'll be doing something just once a month, working with other just art organizations. So, yes. And that is all I have here.
I add an event.
Oh, absolutely.
On Saturday night at the Krannert Center, the Champaign-Urbana Symphony has a concert, but it's also a side-by-side with the members of the Central Illinois Youth Orchestra. They will be on stage, so there won't be much space left on the Krannert stage because it's a very large youth orchestra, but it's a wonderful opportunity for the students to sit side by side with each member of a professional sits with one student all the way through the orchestra. And it brings out lots of families, and it's pretty inspiring for children.
What are you performing?
We are performing the overture, the Glinka's Russian overture, the Ruslan and Ludmila. And the original night on, they call it Bear Mountain for the original. It's known more as Bald Mountain by Mussorgsky. It's the original version. And then we're doing the classic, unforgettable Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, which was very controversial when it was first presented. So it's an extravaganza program to end the season. Starts at 7:30 at the Granite Center in the Great Hall. I think we're going to raise the roof. Saturday, April 12th. So if there's no other items on the report, should we move ahead to the discussion of the high school scholarships?
Yes.
Great.
And this is attached to your packet, is basically the information that Sarah, you had sent all of us, I think, like a month ago or something. So I just wanted to attach it as like a document so we could look at it. I don't have it on the computer, so I can't pull it up right now, but we could just kind of go over it together to look at it. The funding available at this time is $1,000, and this could change if we sort of prioritize funding or had other sponsors, or if we wanted to award multiple artists. So general information, funded by the Urbana Arts and Culture Program, the Urbana Youth Artists Scholarship recognizes exceptional and emerging youth artists who have created a body of work and are continuing their development in the arts. An award of $500 will be given to selected youth artists to support their future artistic endeavors. In addition to monetary awards, all winners will be recognized by the Urbana Arts and Culture Commission, mayor possibly of Urbana, and will have the opportunity to be featured in a gallery installation at the city building and at Arts and Culture program event. So eligibility requirements. At the time of application, individuals must be a middle school or high school student living in Urbana, be a creator of original artwork or performance. Exceptions can be made for musicians. 6 samples of artwork or performances, 1 letter of support or recommendation, and nominations are welcome. And then looks like there's just like kind of a layout of what an online application might have. Contact information of the artist, parental or guardian contact information, 2 photos of the artist, a bio, description of the art medium, the description of use of the funds that they would be getting. There are 6 work samples and that letter of recommendation. And the timeline that's here, we would, shift it or push it back to whenever we would like, but they would be recognized at a commission meeting and follow up with other youth artists who didn't receive funding and put them on a mailing list for future events to keep them involved, possibly to get them to be Eric Show participants or reach out to Eric Show participants. Optional. Artists invited to participate in one Urbana Arts event program. They could have a free booth or performance at Crystal Lake Art Fair, for example, or to do an exhibition at the city building. So I think that this is a little bit more developed from the discussions that you all had. So, if we want to just kind of go down the line, or
Yeah, I have a question. So this is open to visual artists, musicians, actors, et cetera, dancers. Is that how it's Okay, because I like it, I just think it needs to be, a little bit more expressed in the description, because I think a lot of people will just think it's visual artist only. It's just, you have it here in the eligibility requirements, but I think if it's more pronounced in the beginning and maybe in the general information. It's kind of-
I think that's great. Yeah, I think this kind of stemmed out of just making sure that we're coming up with, since we have money allocated for the Youth Poet Laureate, but that's not a program that we can really handle right now. Looking for ways that would be kind of quick recognition awards that wouldn't take as much labor, but would still do something to uplift youth artists in whatever form.
Just to add a little bit on that, I think having 6 work samples makes sense for a visual artist. I'm not sure if it makes sense for like a dramatist, for an actor, for example, or a dancer perhaps. And I wonder if we could make it like 4 to 6 or something like that, because to have 6 visual arts pieces, I think is more doable. But for someone who's like in dance or even music, having 6 pieces, it might be a little hard to come up with.
Yeah, good point.
And
Yeah.
would they submit it through a video presentation or on YouTube with a link?
They're, like, if it was performance art. So if it was like a Google form or something, or a Jot form, they can upload different types of files. And then those files we'd have to figure out the best way that we'd want to view them. But it would probably be, individually, you all would be able to look at the applications that come in and click those links and watch them.
You're probably going to ask all these questions to find out what they're supposed to do, so.
Yeah, I think that just having that Google form that has just everything, and you can change questions so that they're either optional or like you're required. So if you don't upload something, you cannot submit the thing. But yeah, I think that having maybe some flexibility in number of work samples depending on medium. I know that residencies do that sometimes too. So yeah, I'm taking notes on some of these changes.
If they have artwork per se, should it be already in a format where it can be mounted on the wall or wherever it's going to be displayed? Do we have to think about things like that?
And if we're offering a visual artist the chance to exhibit, what would the performance artist, what would their opportunity be to present, to share?
Seems like in the general information section, featuring gallery installation at the city building and an arts and culture program event. So I think that, having it be more about an event, like how they can be a part of an event, or, yeah.
Well, there's a gallery at the art co-op, or do we say art coop? They have a gallery in there, and you have a small gallery at your store.
Yeah, we could edit whatever information we want. I would even say, there's so many different grant programs that are funded, and a lot of them are trying to do a great job of tying in, students or youth performers, so that we could edit the general information to be broader. Kind of do like a featured in a gallery installation at the city building, or in a upcoming arts and culture program event. It could even be, give us more flexibility depending on what medium they're working with.
Yeah, like maybe something that's about showcasing the work, and then kind of like having a list of examples, kind of like the listing out the mediums. It could be some examples of what that could look like.
Some businesses might like the idea to help bring people to their store. did you hear from the teachers at Urbana High School?
Well, I heard back from just one teacher, and I think she was just saying that there were some students doing Eric's show, so that was pretty much the extent of it. But yeah, I think that if this was to be done, if we do this, I think it would be possibly meeting with USD 116 art teachers and kind of presenting it to them. That way it's not just like an email that's bouncing around and maybe not picked up. So, yeah. But I do have that person's email now, so that's good. I have a running list of teachers.
And Percoco was very helpful in helping supply some of those names, because she works with those. She had an exhibit up this weekend for the Boneyard Festival.
Cool.
And she's well, she's not anymore. She was a District Unit 4 teacher. But she's now at the university.
I don't think so.
She's working at the university
Okay.
now, yeah. But she's well connected in the art community, like, sorry, I'm having a moment. 40 North.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she helps put on I think they're planning right now, the Resist 5.0.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Starting to gather artists for that show. And I think they said something about potentially 75 artists, but
Wow.
they said 75. So I'm like, that sounds great.
Wow.
I think that'll be at the IMC. And
Okay.
it'll be a fundraiser for several different nonprofits in town.
That's another option possibly for showing in a winner's exhibits too.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like you see the work of whoever, and then that's kind of what inspires, like, oh, it would totally be good to showcase this type of work in this way. So you never know what you get when you do juries and stuff like that. So any other notes or comments?
Well, if we're going to administer 2 grants, would we want to do a middle school student and a high school student as separate categories? Since they're both able to apply?
Keeps it fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, I guess it would just mean like making sure that we reach the middle school teachers and, yeah.
I suppose if you didn't have enough applicants from the other one, then it would fall to the other group.
Mm-hmm.
I had another question about maybe also trying to find like the homeschool communities to make sure that they're included in this as well.
Good idea.
Yeah.
One other thing that we could do is, I know that the initial timeline that I put in there was kind of a quick turnaround time, but if it makes sense to have a little bit more of a cushion of more, in my initial timeline, it was like, maybe 3 or so weeks for the application to be open. If it makes sense to have that application be longer, so that allows for more applicants, we can make whatever timeline we want with it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And this could also be like, it doesn't really have to be this year too. Like if it needs more time, we can just kind of map this out in the budget and have it ready and fully ready to go and promoted throughout the school year, possibly for next year too. Just an idea.
Probably reach more people.
I guess one of the things I'm just a little bit confused on, I guess to me, this feels more just sort of like the poet laureate and like it's a recognition, right? Would it be easier just to have like a program that's just like an Urbana youth artist recognition for the year? Because it's not clear to me that they're like pursuing, like having scholarly pursuits other than they're in school or going to school, presumably. But couldn't we just recognize a youth artist every year and have that as an alternating sort of opportunity?
So the Youth Poet Laureate program was definitely more of like a mentorship Like that was an element that was beyond the capacity. Like now it's currently beyond the capacity, but like I'm just thinking in past experiences that I've had personally where it's like something like this you might see more for just graduating seniors from high school, and it's really, it kind of goes along with like maybe their honors or something like that they're seeking. So I don't know, it's up to you guys. We're forming it together, so if it makes more sense for it to be art students, because there's definitely art students in high school that are taking more, you know, like extra, maybe there's an art club that's their extracurricular, is definitely being part of the arts. So yeah, might be worth talking to teachers about what they might think, but I think that honoring a youth artist could be a very cool way of doing it too.
I don't have a strong opinion on this one way or another, but would we want to talk to teachers in other high schools that serve students from Urbana, like any of the private schools, or what's the one on campus, Uni High, where it's not Urbana High School, but they still live in Urbana? And I don't mind one way or another, just wondering what people think.
I mean, I would say that the eligibility requirements that are the example that's here, saying student living in Urbana, kind of opens it up. So I would say, as of right now, this example is open to other schools, but it's really about the student living in Urbana and being a resident.
Well, I'm wondering if we want to get feedback from teachers from those other schools too.
Yeah.
Would there be, this is a different way of approaching it, because you want the kids to learn about applications and that growing process. But what about asking teachers for nominees? That are, look at it from a different angle, so to speak.
Like, I mean, this is just me coming up with ideas, bouncing off of this. But my thought is that if we want to do this, and here's, we have something mapped out that we're going for, that myself, maybe either of you that want to be a part of it would go to the schools and meet with the teachers. The teachers have professional development days, so it could be more of like, instead of us going to them separately in different schools, it's more of a meeting thing where we're discussing opportunities. I did this for the elementary school teachers like earlier or last summer or something like that, and it was pretty beneficial. So it could be something like that.
Oh.
And that way they know about it, they can share it with their students, and if their students are interested in an application. But in terms of maybe the students and families putting their name into the hat, so that it's more of like the students doing it on their own, or just any kid of that age doing it, they would be welcome to it also. So
Carolyn Maurizi is the coordinator for the Urbana Unit 4, 116 schools. I met with that group on, actually it was Valentine's Day. They had a in-school conference with all the teachers on that day. I don't know how many more they have coming up at the end of the semester, but
They have one at the end of the year. They always close out their year with a PD day.
okay.
Yep.
But it depends, that we'd have to change our deadline. That would help get the word out, certainly.
If we change the deadline, would we want to consider the cutoffs, like incoming middle school student, outgoing high school student?
Yeah, if they will be in grade 9, for
Right.
example, or, but where's the cutoff? You say middle school, where's the cutoff? Is there a cutoff?
Yeah, we definitely should adjust the timeline with what works for us, but just with that addition.
Yeah. You don't want to exclude somebody if they're really talented, but they're in a lower grade. I guess we just have to.
but if it
decide
happens
what's
every
clear.
year, then they're just in the next grade the next year.
Uh-huh.
And so that, I think that's, yeah, I think it kind of, is it a youth? And that's just like, it really, it doesn't matter what they're doing in school at all. It's more about them being an artist, and that's like their passion. Or it could be a little bit more serious, and it's like, okay, we have some graduating high school seniors, and this is sort of like an extra sort of push to going into the arts as you're crossing like a threshold into, being out of high school. Or, yeah, I think it's pretty open right now.
I think it should be kept to middle school and, just as Hannah said, middle school and then high school, because if you make it like youth, I can see getting so many applications from young kids that it could be a bit overwhelming. So if we can keep it to like the older kids, middle school and high school, I think it makes more sense.
What's the age, what's the minimum age of an applicant of like a Urbana Arts and Culture grant? Is there an age?
For the poet laureate, you have to be 21 years old. And so for the youth poet laureate, you have to be under 21 years old.
But like for, like the past, like tier 1 or tier 2, is there an age requirement?
Mm-mm. I don't think so. But I think that it's like the capacity it takes to fill out a grant application is pretty lengthy. I think it exceeds the experience of youngins.
In terms of how money is dispersed, the poet laureate, I should know this. Does the poet laureate get a cash reward?
They get a check.
A check? And so I guess like for this, I mean, how would it operate in a similar way? Is that you get and there's not really sort of an expectation to do anything afterwards. We're not checking receipts or anything like that. And it's just, recognition, here's a check and good luck.
Honorarium.
Yeah, okay.
Would we want to consider it as a competition where they design, like we have for the billboards or Boneyard, for example, along those lines?
That's something that I know has been done in a little bit more of a specific program. I guess the Historic Preservation Commission used to have a program with students where they would create art based off of some of the historical landmarks here in town, and they would like submit work, and I think there was some sort of award. I think the honorary, this was like years ago, and I think the honorariums were closer to like $50 or something like that. But that was something I heard about, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But it's a little bit more, it's like kind of leaning into making art and maybe getting paid for it, but at the same time, with kids, it's different, I would say.
Will there be a limit to how many times you can like apply and be awarded it? Like,
Well, if you're a graduating senior, you're only
Yeah,
graduating one
but
time.
if you're in middle school, you have 7 opportunities, 3 years and then 4 more. I just didn't know if they could apply every year or if they could be awarded back-to-back years.
I mean, I think that's one of those things where you would put that in the guidelines,
Okay.
like, people can only get awards once or something like that.
It might be nice to have it be a limit of 1 so that we can feature more artists, but I'm open.
I'd be open to the idea of you can only apply as a middle schooler once and as a high schooler once. Maybe they really come into their own in high school.
Maybe middle school they do music or high school, and then high school they explore art. Maybe it changes.
Also, I will just say that sometimes just part of the jurying process, those are just like things that you take into consideration. So it's not like you're stamping it like not allowed to blankety blank blank, but it's more like, you know, so-and-so's got a strong portfolio. They did win last year. This person also has a strong portfolio. That sort of thing.
Got it.
That can be
Yeah.
hard to decide. I adjudicate on a lot of music competitions, and you've got two people who are equal artistically, but one's in a younger grade and one's in a higher grade. So discussing, you know, if all things are equal artistically, which one do you give the award to? It's hard sometimes.
And also, and adding about music, I think we also have to be very detailed of what are the submissions going to be like, say for music, you know, do you get the solo competition that you submit, you know, a recording of your solo competitive competition, you know, in the regional level? Do you get a clip of your solo in a performance at your school? Or, you know, so we need to help, I think, the students kind of how specify, or the actor, okay, you know, your particular part in a play, you know, otherwise we're gonna be getting like a whole performance to look at, and we're like, oh, where is the, who's who?
So
So,
they would have to identify the sections of, so you would
yeah,
be searching for.
yeah, I think we need to give them, you know, some
How
kind
long
of,
are the clips?
yeah, how long are the clips, right?
About 30-second clip.
Yeah,
I think that also by having a letter of support or a letter of recommendation, that's another great way of, you know, say that there's a whole sweep of students from someone's class, but you know, the teacher is not going to write like 20 different letters of recommendation for it. They're gonna probably have to choose or work with specific students to like write said letter of recommendation or support. So that would be helpful as well.
to add about that too, it could be, if we are gonna do it this spring, and, you know, think about, of course, when the school is done, but also, this is now around the time when the solo performances are happening, right, the competition, so as far as I know, I'm a mom of musicians, and I was at all those competitions. It's basically the parents taking the photos of their kids, the videos of their kids performing. So like giving them a heads up, like you're gonna need some if you do want to submit something for this application, we're gonna need you know, recording of your child or of the particular student doing the performance, so that they can do that, because it's always a case like you're there with your cell phone, like recording.
Well, and I think with that point, I would argue that maybe the deadline should be pushed to next spring, because if we were to, you know, figure out the kinks of the guidelines, probably criteria for judging, things like that, get all of our ducks in a row, you know, we could almost unveil this in the fall semester, and then that gives kids time to actually build up a portfolio if they hadn't already, once they know what the criteria are. If we're shooting, say, 4 to 6 performances, teachers can help them through that process too, I'm assuming. Yeah, right. So I think that would be a little bit more strategic, and I think taking a longer timeline makes more sense, in my opinion.
Do we include dance with this? Or do we just describe each medium with one word so that there's no confusion?
Yeah, I think that the best thing to do would just to have a whole list of those mediums there, and include dance, theatrical performances or performance art, music, you know, visual art, 2D or 3D or whatnot, and sort of list those. And I think that also that part of creating a portfolio as a student and as an artist, no matter what your discipline is, that's part of the artistry, is how are you presenting yourself. So like, instead of having a parent's video, maybe this teen or middle schooler records their own video of them and, you know, performing something that typically would be their group thing, but they're doing their own thing. So I think that kind of is something that would be up to them, and that's part of awarding the artistry of any of these mediums. And it would be great if the teachers could be more involved, but Also, if we're including students who are homeschooled and might not have that sort of one-on-one mentorship with other artists per se, it'd be kind of up to them anyway.
But they need to learn the art of self-promotion,
Mm-hmm.
an important part of their career.
So I'm totally open to, you know, this happening or this happening soon or saving it for next year. I think the reason my initial hope with this was that since we have funds for this year budgeted already, and then June we get a new budget. I was hoping that we would be able to use the money from this year. So I wonder, what do you think about rolling out something like this before June, seeing how it goes, and then building it stronger for next year? Do you think that it would be better to just wait and have it strong in the beginning?
I like your idea, but I think we then have to decrease the number of submissions from like 6 to 3.
Yeah.
Because getting 6 between now and say, you know, the end of April or May could be hard for the youth. And then
That's-
next year do 4 to 6 or whatever it might be, but this year like 3 or something like that.
Unless we
And
get those
if there's
nominations.
$1,000 and the awards are $500, that's just 2 for right now, right? So it could just be 2 awards.
I totally agree with, maybe we could have the maximum amount of submissions be 6, have it be optional, and then jury, maybe there could be something that says like, ideally, you know, quality of submissions is analyzed by the jury. And so if we have more submissions, then we really know more about what you do, but it's not, if you still have a really good description of what the type of art and medium that you work with. So we could have the submissions be like 2 with an option of 6, because I mean, going through some of the juries, you know, if you're going through a lot of applications, the jury hopes to look through all the samples of work, but might be only looking at half, so.
Yeah. Does anyone know what the last day of school typically is around here? Is it like June something?
It ends in May.
The end of May.
I think we have one snow day in both districts. I think it's May 30th. May 29th is the last day for Champaign schools, and I think it's also the same for Urbana.
It might be, I'm just going to say it, in terms of like a letter of support from a teacher or a letter of recommendation, it might be a little tricky for students to get letters of recommendation.
On the other hand, it might sort them out before we get a lot of things to look at. If the teachers would highlight a special student in that different categories, like a department chair or a principal or whoever's head of the art department, for example, it might simplify things in some ways, but it doesn't give the other students a chance to apply then. Timeline might make a big difference here. But I like your idea of not losing it because of the budget changeover in June.
Yeah, because I definitely think waiting is the better strategy, but not if there's no money, you know,
Can we
to
be
use.
guaranteed that we get it again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could make the letter of recommendation optional. That way, if we had someone that was a really stellar applicant, but wasn't able to get, but then maybe we could always open up the award next year.
Could it be through the summer? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
are
could be.
teachers responsive? It's easier to ask for help from your teacher if you're right there in class every day, but like, could the applicants be forming their applications end of May and early June? Or is that teachers are like, I'm done?
We're done.
Yeah.
We're good.
But they have to do that for college applications and other activities too, so.
But it would give the student, if they needed another week or two to put something together for a portfolio, it would benefit the student, and then we'd make it in before the budget.
For fiscal year 25, 26, has council already approved, I guess, whatever your budget recommendation is for the arts grant? Is that changing at all?
No, they haven't they haven't really voted on anything yet. That'll happen later.
Okay,
But, like, it's been in the budget for the past, few years.
right.
That the poet laureate or the youth poet laureate amount is there. So it's like there's budget lines, but there's detail in there that I work with, but it's not like it's this money has to be used for this exact thing. So that $1,000 that is kind of shows up for that is just a detail of a larger amount. So it will be there still next year. I personally, I do get a little sad when I see budget not get used for things when it's budgeted there, but it will show up again.
Okay, because basically the way we're operating now in this current fiscal year is whatever money is left over that wasn't used for the arts grants, we would like to use it for this program. Is that correct?
No,
for
there's
this current
already
fiscal year?
space for it
Oh, okay,
in this year.
for this exact program.
And there's already mapped out space in future years for it.
Okay.
It was called the Youth Poet Laureate
I see.
honorarium as the
Okay.
detail,
Okay,
but now it would be just like the youth or
Young
Urbana
artist.
Youth Artist
Yeah.
Scholarship.
yeah. I guess where I stand, and I think I indicated this earlier, is that I personally am just apprehensive about the timeline, and I would rather make sure that we're putting our best foot forward in a really polished program in time that people can understand and work through, because it will require some heavy lifting from teachers and family members of interested students. I just don't think I don't think we just have a good timeline for this current fiscal year. That's my personal opinion.
I think if we just increase a week and we start April 15th to May 15th, you have a whole month, which gives, before finals, for example, that kids, and then a week later, before the school ends, which would be like, say, May 22nd or something, then you announce the winner. It's still just before classes end, but, that's a month rather than 3 weeks. I just think giving people a little bit more time to submit things, and then we see what we get, because I agree that it would be a shame to just not use that money. But if you give people a little bit more time, then the 3 weeks is kind of tight, and, it's getting it out now. But if you give them an extra week, is that possible? Do you think that's doable? Do you think we'll be able to advertise it well and you'll get submissions? And if you don't, then you have a small pool, but, at least if you have like a month, that'll give some teachers the time to also submit, write a letter of recommendation, it's given that it's the end of the school year. It's very busy.
Abby, you want to put your 2 cents worth in since you work in the school district?
I just wanted to say real quick that in this scenario with the budget line that this comes out of, it not being spent on the actual Youth Poet Laureate does not mean that the money vanishes if we aren't just using it somewhere else. So it's part of a budget line that has other things in it too that can absorb that $1,000. So in this case, because I know we've talked about grants having purchase orders where if it's not used, it is gone. And this is not the same, just so you know. So it's not like it just goes down the drain. In this scenario, the $1,000 that isn't used for the Youth Poet Laureate could be used for supplies for a different program or something like that. Or other artistic services or contracted services.
Abby, you have a sense of timing at the end of the semester as a teacher. Would you, what do you think? Would teachers be responsive to this? And do they have too much on their plate already as they're winding up for the end of the year?
They do have a lot because a lot of the music teachers are involved with graduation, and that's always there in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing that right now. I just found out we have to perform, like, I don't even have a choir right now.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, that's okay, we got the musical kids. But yeah, no, I think it's doable, but they just have to know, like, as soon as possible, just if they want a recommendation from their teacher, or if they need help with their recording, or an accompanist, or whatever.
I think they're getting used to that, because I know the musician students, they're always having to submit audition tapes for, to go to district contest or all-state, or the teachers are making them submit videos for them to get in this group or this group at the school. So it's kind of a way of life, for, at least for the musical
It's true,
students.
because they, for IMEC, they were submitting videos for a while, so, I mean, the videos exist, so it probably won't be as hard.
Hopefully.
With the way this is written, does the letter of support have to come from a teacher? And we've been saying teacher, but could it be open to a community member,
Like a pastor.
a pastor, a
yeah,
music
somebody who knows you
tutor,
well.
or, yeah, something like that?
Like a private teacher, for
Right.
example. Yeah.
What would you consider? Would a parent not be, ideally someone outside of family?
I would say teacher or community member,
Mhm.
like non-relative community member. I will just add, I think that missing last month's meeting not happening, I think kind of set this back. But like with this, we would need to like create a flyer or some sort of like promotional image to share with teachers, make sure all the teachers are aware of it and share it with them, share it on social media for everyone, somehow find the homeschool kids' emails. So I think it could be a pretty tight squeeze this year, just because right now it's overlapping with like all the arts grant stuff and it's just me. Unless you all want to take reins on something like this. But timeline wise, I'm almost thinking like if at the start of January, like a January, second semester kind of thing would be like a good way for teachers to know that this is something to look forward to. But yeah.
If we rush, it might, yeah, I think Xander has a point that if we rush to try to get it out, but we're not completely gelled with all our ideas and stuff, that could be more complicated. Probably will be anyway, but because the first time
ideally,
event.
I'd want to make all the edits to this and then bring it back to you guys, and you kind of make a vote amongst each other to make a recommendation back to me to make sure that it's in the budget and like totally this is what we're using it for. And then that would give us lots of time to do like outreach, and like in terms of putting best foot forward, I think that would be great.
You could go on CI Living.
Yeah, like there's so many outlets to share and really make sure that people are being reached and like the right.
The radio stations.
Yeah. And just the teens that are part of all the teen spaces in town and stuff.
I know a homeschool teacher. I could put you in touch with her or send you her information,
Yeah.
and she could connect you to the however they do their mailing and announcements.
Yeah.
Keep chipping away at it, and it's going to come together.
I think so, and I think it'll, with this might come a separate page that has a little bit more that has to do with like guidelines and stuff, so we can come up with more information. But I would rather not rush into it and just make sure everything's all mapped out. And we're not losing the money, so that's good. That's always good.
Yeah, I think I was blending that money with the previous grant money, kind of what you were talking about before of like, oh, it doesn't roll over. So how do we, I think it was really going back to how do we keep track of, or well, how do we harness money that is been contracted and how to get it recycled back into programming that we really would love to sponsor or find creative ways to use and not have it be lost. And so that's really that was the main sentiment behind some of these things.
Yeah.
And also looking for, over the past few years on the commission, there's been a lot of interest in finding, from the community, I've noticed that there's just interest in trying to support young programs that support younger kids. And so trying to find ways to, honor kids in that way, so.
And January is really great because in the music world, that's when kids are all getting ready for solo and ensemble contests in the third quarter. And March is usually when they put on their performances. So it's like a good timeline for thinking about recordings and stuff.
Well, and there are other competitions around that time, so they're already preparing for those as well.
Yep.
And like I know we originally kind of were bouncing off of like, is Eric's show involved in any way? And that timeline is a little bit earlier than I think what we could have followed up with anyway. So, yeah. So I think that I'll probably just be editing the document and adding a little bit more detail in terms of optional letter of recommendation and from teacher or community member.
Maybe you could say it's encouraged.
Yeah, encouraged. And maybe just kind of going into breaking down the middle school, high school category, maximum of 6 samples, and
When I put that in there, it was just like
yeah,
concept of like ideally seeing more than one,
yeah.
so we can kind of see if there's a theme or.
I might look at some other like similar like contests or competitions that exist in the United States for like youth stuff like this, and might just see like what their requirements are, and kind of look at that, and we can just take a look at it next meeting.
Good idea.
Does that sound good?
We could honestly look at the Youth Poet Laureate application and then just
Yeah,
tweak some things.
yeah, definitely. Cool. Awesome.
Well,
on that
thanks
note,
for considering it.
thank you,
and-
Sarah, for
Oh,
writing it down and breaking it.
Getting the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this also gives us time to include, like, if the mayor has involvement and has some sort of thought about how there's some award that happens. Because I think that Mayor Marlin did some sort of school award. I wish I knew more. It wasn't art related. It was more about like community service stuff, I believe. But going to the school, kind of meeting the students and that sort of thing. So that might be of interest. So
One last thing is, I know in the beginning you talked about how we have this amount of money allotted, but this would also give us time if there was any other contributors, people that would want to help sponsor so that we could have more awards another year could help. So ideally, it would be nice to maybe promote that this is going to be launched, and then if there's additional people that want to help with scholarship opportunities or ways to donate.
maybe Art Coop or Idea Store want to contribute some sort of gift basket or something to go along with it. So that gives us more time to kind of talk about that with other people.
Would we want to turn it into like a public event? Like Urbana's Got Talent kind of event? Because, there's that new, what is it, this Bible theater in Lincoln Square they have the theater and the stage set up.
Oh, wow.
And their emphasis is on youth and theater, but they might want to sponsor an event or be part of an event, or an opening reception where you bring in all the sponsors and that sort of thing. I don't know if you've seen the space since they upgraded it, but I was over there recently to see it. It's changed quite a lot.
Wow. Well, I think that that definitely sounds like production for sure. But in terms of like celebrating whoever is awarded, I think that would be really exciting is to just see like where do they want to show their work? Do they, is their work small and intimate and would be great at the co-op or something, or is it
Maybe
know.
Rachel would help at the art museum, for example. And there's the museum in the Union where they show the Eric show.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of possible
Here, the library.
venues.
Could that be a optional line on the application, making no promises, but if you could display your art anywhere in town, where would it be?
Yeah, that'd be a nice little
Be cute,
question.
yeah.
Like if you were to showcase your work, where would you do it and how? Or just to have like some creative question be
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, and their response would show their creativity as well. An exhibit in Lincoln Square Mall. By then, well, maybe the hotel will be open. We can use one of the ballrooms or the lobby or.
Aren't they hiring?
It's happening soon. Yeah, they are hiring. I think they had like job fairs this weekend.
Mhm.
All
Gives us
right.
another option.
Well, I think that concludes our discussion, and I will be coming back with sort of a fresh edited version at the next meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So motion?
We have-
Sorry,
That's seconded. It's been.
oh,
Oh, well, okay.
I second the motion.
sorry.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.
I thought that was a question.
Like, yes, I'll do it. I have a tendency to end with high note.